two of them. Oh, there's contact. There's contact. And there's contact between Cheryl Paul and Campbell Pilling. Good morning and welcome to the Daniel Ricciardo Series. We're here at Clay Pigeon between Yeovil and Dorchester on the south coast of the United Kingdom for round one of this year's DRS Series. 60 drivers all looking towards the 2022 season with aspirations of lifting the trophy and the title of Daniel Ricciardo Series champion. For those that don't know the format, we've three classes with us this weekend. The first of those, the juniors, the DRS100s, and they'll be coming onto circuit for their qualifying session in just a few moments' time. We've also got our smallest, our youngest of the drivers this weekend, the DRS62s, and then our senior category, the DRS125s. We're at Clay Pigeon, probably the more southern circuit in the UK, as we said, right on the south coast, and we're certainly not having south coast weather at the moment as the rain continues to fall here. We don't really expect an awful lot of change either in terms of the weather. For those that are unfamiliar with the Clay Pigeon circuit, it's one of the most historic ones in the UK, it has to be said. It starts with one of the most famous corners. Is it a corner, Billy's Blind? It's more of a kink, isn't it? It kinks left and then into a double apex right. But Billy's Blind is where they will all start their lap here of the Clay Pigeon circuit. They'll then head up to the S's, around the right, left, right, and then down to Sturmey Straight and Hans Hairpin, named after Neil Hann. Onto Buttons, Top Bend, and then to complete another lap. It's not the longest of laps here at Clay Pigeon, but lots of overtaking opportunities around this southwest-based circuit. So final qualifying of the day is for the DRS 125s. Looks like they'll be headed out by Oliver Owen. Mark Lawrence is sat alongside him. So 9 drivers, all looking to put in their fastest possible lap time within 10 minutes, a 10-minute period. Could be a really open championship as well for the DRS 125s. Several drivers who performed particularly well last year. The likes of Tom Snape and Jack Ray, Oliver Owen, all seeded drivers from last year's championship. And Firas Bilbezi, who won the one-off DRS event last month as well. So they're just about underway then for the time qualifying session. I have the pleasure of being joined by Andy Cox in the commentary booth here. It's a long time since I've been at Clay Pigeon. This wasn't here when I was here last, Andy. It's a decent vantage point on a very decent kart circuit that's been here a long time, but has produced some excellent races as well.
Well, have they put this in especially for you, Mark? Don't expect this at every track, a commentary box, and
I could do some air conditioning when we go to Risington.
Air conditioning. We'll open the window. No, it's like you, I've been coming here a long time, and the circuit obviously has sort of remained the same, but it's really well looked after by the Renaissance, and always looks immaculate. And it's although it's a shorter lap, It's really quite technical to get right, and the actual tarmac is very abrasive. So there's a lot of the guys at the moment struggling to find the right pressure, and it would seem that a lower pressure is working better for some drivers, because if you go higher, the tyre just seems to overheat. And so I think quali is a bit of a mixed bag, because no one's really done any wet racing. Mind you, a good mixed bag makes a good race.
Yeah, it does. And tell us about the changes. Obviously, the cars look different this year from an aesthetic perspective, different front end of them, if you like, from a bodywork perspective. What is the significant difference to people who've watched the series last season to this year?
Yeah, so in all the classes, we've gone to the new, the World CIK homologated bodywork, which changes every 3 years. So on the DRS100 and the 125, we're running the KG508 front panel, which has like a bit of I suppose it's a bit like an F duct, a channel that runs through the front panel, takes the air in up the front panel, and is supposed to obviously deflect over the driver's helmet. Seems to make a little bit of a difference on high-speed straights, and also the 507 front pod, which is a lot wider, which means we've had to modify the stub axles on the kart, so all the drivers are running much wider on the front to accommodate the front pod. So it's changed the characteristics of the kart. You haven't got as much adjustment on the front, but it's just changed the footprint of the kart, and we saw faster lap times yesterday. And the Cadet, more or less the same, but we're using the MK20 bodywork. That doesn't have an F duct on it, but it is a more rounded front panel, and I think they look a little better. And the latest kart have also the skinny Evo pods on the 62. I'm sticker set looks good, and Dan's happy with the look, so we're all good.
Good. And tell us about what you've been saying to some of the drivers in terms of, obviously, first race weekend. We've got a long season ahead of us. It's easy for drivers, especially the younger ones, to open their eyes to this and want to get everything done at round one. But it's a long season, isn't it? And especially with the wet conditions as well. It's more about putting experience and points in the bag than trying to do things that are a bit daft this weekend.
Yeah, so you can drop a quali, a heat, a pre-final and a final. So that always makes it interesting and is a little bit fairer for everybody. But yeah, it's a long championship, and it's all about your strategy. You've got to get your qualifying consistent, and then keep getting in the results in the top 4 or 5 all the time. The big difference for sure is the DRS100 with over 30 drivers racing. We're very pleased with that. The Cadets, I think, is 22, 23. We've got some more kids coming in. Obviously, the DRS125 is not where we want it to be at the moment, but we do know that there's new drivers coming in from round 2. Even though it's a smaller field in the 125s, I think, as we can see in this quali session, it's going to be very close. So I think we'll still get some great racing, and hopefully we've got some drivers that are moving up from Club 100 and coming and trying out. You can also do a guest round and rent a kart and come and try out. So I'm sure the 125s will build through the season.
Yeah, and as you said, it's likely to be very close. There's only a couple of tenths between a lot of the drivers at the moment. Mark Lawrence, who always seems to me to be a bit of a wet specialist as well when he's out there. He's up into second at the moment, just a couple of tenths behind Oliver Owen. We know that Tom Snape's been a race winner and has shown good pace as well, and obviously Firas Bilbais, he's had a good start to the season in terms of the way that he's applied himself to win that DRS plate earlier on in 2022. So yeah, and I think we're just seeing a little bit of an improvement in the weather as well. It's looking a little bit brighter. I think the rain's actually stopped momentarily, so drivers will start to certainly feel a little bit of a difference out there in terms of how the karts react to changeable conditions. But at the moment, it's Oliver Owen who's the fastest of the DRS125 drivers. Mark Lawrence second fastest, Jack Rigg third fastest, then Ben Gartside and Firas Bilbezi, and Tom Snape is in sixth place, and Tommy Welsh and JJ McGing in ninth. And Carl Watt's already not actually posted a time, as he just one lap for Carl Watt, who seems to have some sort of problem out there at the moment. Must have come back into the paddock. Andy, tell us about the choice of circuits. We go to lots of different circuits with lots of different characteristics. How tough is the selection process, if you like, to make sure that the drivers get a little bit of everything in terms of making sure we get the best driver that's been the best over a course of a season at different racetracks?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the venues are very important and always very welcoming. But you know, you've got your sort of traditional classics like Clay, like Rissington. You know, in the dry you've got a massive difference in time. You know, around about 34 seconds, 35 seconds lap here. You know, to a 42, 43 at Rissington. But of course, with COVID last year, we were unable to go to Wales with the restrictions being different in different parts of the country. So we're really looking forward to going to GYG, which is a 44, 45 second lap. But as you know, it's just a huge track. You know, it's really high speed, undulating corners. Very technical, so I'm sure all the drivers are going to enjoy that. And then again, we've got in South Wales in Landau, again, a very, you know, a shorter lap, but very, very technical, and also Houghton Park. That's a great track for drivers, and always makes fantastic racing. And then, you know, Fullbeck. With sort of the Hockenheim, the old Hockenheim sort of chicanes, real high speed into them, and precision needed. So it's a really good mix. You know, we would love to go to your old home track, Rowra, you know, which is fantastic. The issue we have, you know, we've got to think of everyone where they're all living. And you know, Rowra is. I know you make the trip, Mark, but
just 6.5 hours yesterday to get here.
Commitment, Mark, commitment. But no, it's very. You know, it is difficult to try to get a good balance. But maybe as things improve for everyone next year, hopefully in the world, and you know, we could maybe try Rowra next year and rotate a track and see what people think.
Yeah, absolutely, and. As Andy said, we make the return to Wales twice this year. We go to Glenigors on the 25th and 26th of June, and then down to Landau for round 5, which is in the August bank holiday. Is it the 27th, 28th of August? Is that the bank holiday weekend in August? I think it is. Yeah. So yeah, 2 trips to Wales to add to the calendar as well. In terms of the DRS125s, Mark Lawrence, we talked about him being particularly good pedaler in the wet, and he's doing the job at the moment. 42.7 makes him the fastest of the drivers out there. He's into the last couple of seconds of the qualifying session as well. He's got about 0.08 of a second advantage over Oliver Owen, who was top of the timesheets for a long period and has been displaced by Mark Lawrence. Jack Rigg, third fastest. Firas Bilbezi has made some ground as well, a 43.557, fourth place for him. Tom Snape is 5th, Ben Gartside is 6th, JJ McGing 7th fastest, and then Tommy Welsh. So Owen has completed the session for him. He doesn't go any faster this time. He's not going to do any better than second. Where are the likes of Jack Rigg? Are they still out there? They are, just crossing the line now as Gartside completes his last lap, and Rigg doesn't go any faster, but Tom Snape does. So Tom Snape up to 4th, his personal best of 43.508, and Firas Bilbezi just demoted down to 5th place, and Ben Gartside is 6th, and Tommy Welsh is 7th, and McGing is 8th, and then Carl Watt in 9th place. So Mark Lawrence it is then, fastest of all the DRS 100s, 42.769. Oliver Owen 2nd fastest, Jack Rigg 3rd fastest, Tom Snape 4th fastest. So just around about half a second covers the top 5. And the oldest driver, is he oldest driver, Mark Lawrence?
Yeah, I think he's I think he's 52. And he's the oldest driver here. And been racing in all of our series since 2007.
I'm sure he'll tell you if you get it wrong. We'll ask him. We'll ask him later
I
on.
might have just made him younger.
Might well, he's certainly very fast at the moment. So age just a number for Mark Lawrence, who's the fastest driver, obviously subject to any post-race scrutineering checks, of course. But that's the qualifying complete. Thank you, Andy. So the DRS62s have just been reliably informed by Andy Cox that our pole setter, Mark Lawrence, 57 years old. 57. So Andy Cox, first of all, said he was 52. So I'll take that as a compliment. But 57 shows the breadth of age ranges, the breadth of, or the fact that the ability is absolutely still there, because he's the fastest of the DRS125s in qualifying this morning. He'll take his place on the front row for this first heat for the DRS125s. There he is, pole man, Mark Lawrence, 57 years old. Fantastic stuff. So the challenge for him is to keep the likes of Jack Rigg and Oliver Owen, Tom Snape, the DRS of Firas Bilbezi there on the inside of the third row. As you can see, all of the drivers on the grooved wet weather tyre, of course. As the rain continues to fall here, I think we've got to have it set in for the day. So the drivers, I think the issue for a lot of the drivers is it's never the same. Every time you go out in the wet conditions, there's always slightly different challenges. Unlike the dry, where you have that layer of consistency about everything that happens, in the wet, it just never feels the same from session to session. The circuit might be slightly wetter, slightly drier. Tyres will change. Tyre pressures go up and down. Tyre wear changes. Remember, these aren't like Formula One tyres where effectively new sets are plentiful. Drivers will use single sets of tyres for different race weekends. And there you get a really clear view of the groove tyre. Effectively disperses the water, that's what the grooves are all about. They disperse the water as the drivers take the wet groove tyre through them. But they do a very decent job. And to good effect, these DRS125 drivers are using them. So have we a little spinner there? We have a spinner there. It's not a little spin either. It's a very decent sized spin. Let's just see who that was. I think they've all rejoined, haven't they? Yes, they have. So it'll be the driver at the back of the field. Just seeing them go round now. It's the 320 of JJ McGinn. A little bit of cross-country for him as he got used to these new tyres, used to the new conditions around this Clay Pigeon circuit. Just over 800 metres of tarmac for them to navigate round. As we say, it's our final heat of the day. If you're just tuning in now, feel free to interact with us via Facebook and YouTube. Daniel Gould's just been asking on YouTube about the nose cone. So as Andy Cox was explaining to us before, it's part of the new CIK homologation. Almost an F duct on the nose cone, helps to reduce the resistance. I've seen in comparative testing that's slightly quicker than the old nose cone. I wonder what effects it has in the wet conditions. We'll have to ask the drivers when we speak to them later on. How we go? We are go. First time of asking. Down the inside, does the pole man manage to hold on to his lead? It's very tight between Lawrence and I think Oliver Owen in second place. Or it's not, it's the it is five of Oliver Owen in second place. Will he have a look down the inside of Lawrence? Yes, he will. He almost went to the outside and sold him a dummy as they went into the right hand of the hand hairpin. Now they're into the left of the horseshoe and the new leader is Oliver Owen. Lawrence is in second place, goes to the inside and tries to find a way through at Buttons and then up towards the top bend, the paddock corner for the first time. And all these DRS 125 drivers stretch their legs into the right-hander of Billy's blind once more. Up into the S's comes Oliver Owen from the outside of the front row. Now finds himself through that dive down the inside here just a lap ago. He's now in command and in control of this first DRS 125 heat. Goes through Buttons once more. Down towards top bend and then they swing all the way down. It's a long right-handed straight. They come over start finish. They start to swing left. They get the right line or look for the right line into Billy's blind. And what I would say is that Mark Lawrence showed good pace towards the end of the qualifying session. So have they set that kart up? Have they set that Daniel Ricciardo kart up to come on late during this first heat? And would we expect Lawrence to start to apply pressure as the session goes on? We're just looking at the leaders now and the battle for second and third between Tom Snape, the number 4, and Jack Rigg, the number 6, who are having a good old ding-dong, aren't they, over third and fourth place at the moment. Ben Gartside is 5th, Firas Bilbezi 6th, and Tommy Welsh, JJ McGinn and Carl Watt 7th, 8th and 9th. Oliver Owen does the fastest lap of the race so far, so he has hooked it up here out front. The race leader, Oliver Owen, second fastest in qualifying earlier on this morning in these conditions, but actually not showing any sort of pace deficit. In fact, he's pulling away from Mark Lawrence at the moment, who's got to be careful he doesn't come under pressure from Jack Rigg in third. The gap between Lawrence and Rigg fairly static. The only driver that made big inroads, Ben Gartside, took 3/10 out of Tom Snape in his quest to get on terms for 4th place last time round. Another fastest lap from Oliver Owen. So Oliver Owen is lapping around about 0.7 of a second quicker than Mark Lawrence at the moment. So he's cruising away here at the front of this field. The gap is up to 1.6 seconds between Owen and Lawrence. Really narrow line. Here's the battle for third, fourth and fifth. And as we said before, Snape and Gartside. Has Gartside found a way through? I think he has on the last lap as well. Here's the move. Down the inside. Is there a touch of contact? No, it looks pretty clean to me. Drivers have to accept that you're always going to be a little bit ungamely, a little bit on the limit in the wet conditions as well. You dive to the inside, you lose some of that natural grip from the racing line. You are going to gather a handful of opposite lock. You are going to gather a handful of oversteer. Once you're into the corner, when we talk about understeer and oversteer, you'll have seen it used many times before if you're a regular subscriber to the Daniel Ricciardo Series here on Facebook and YouTube. But effectively in the wet conditions, when the drivers turn the steering wheel, it goes straight on. That is understeer. That is the mechanical grip. The car having to wait to get the mechanical grip from the tyres. And then sometimes when you see the back end slip, that's caused by oversteer. So when the front end does grip, it does bite into the corner. It effectively kicks the back end out, slides the back end, and you go from having no front end grip to no rear end grip very quickly. Which just goes to show you the sort of challenges that these drivers have to face, the sort of things they have to combat, and the skill that is required to get one of these DRS Series karts around this circuit here for round one of the 2022 championship. And at the moment, it is Oliver Owen that's doing the best job at the front of this field. A little bit quicker from Mark Lawrence, does a personal best for him, 43 flat, but Oliver Owen is the only driver to have ducked under the 43-second barrier. His fastest lap of the race, 42.8, 0.2 of a second at least quicker than everybody else out there is the race leader. So Oliver Owen, Mark Lawrence. I'll be interested to see how Oliver Owen's made his pace, as there's a few more battles going down throughout the field involving Tom Snape, Firas Bilbezi, Tommy Welsh there as well in that battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. And Carl Watt is the last of the runners at the moment in 9th place. Interested to see what Oliver Owen can attribute the increase in pace to. Second best just ever so slightly in the qualifying session. Now he's not just out front, but out front and 3-4 tenths a lap quicker than Mark Lawrence, although Mark Lawrence has just done his personal best of 42.9, which on that last lap was just over 2.5 tenths quicker than Owen. So whether Owen's just taking his foot off the gas a little bit at 2.5 seconds clear, well, he hasn't, because he's just done the fastest lap of the race. So good response from Oliver Owen. 42.5 for him, 42.9 from Mark Lawrence last time round, so another half a second taken by the race leader. Jack Rigg still third, Gartside fourth. Now, what's the distance between Rigg and Gartside? It's maybe 6-7 kart lengths at the moment. Gartside's got 3 or 4 kart lengths advantage over Tom Snape, who in turn has got a couple of kart lengths ahead of Firas Bilbezi, who has a very, very narrow line through the left-hander of the horseshoe. We've got, what have we got? A minute or so to go here for our final heat of the day. Remember, all these drivers have completed a qualifying session. They've completed or are about to have completed a first heat. And into the final lap will come at the race leader. Will he cut the timing beam before the time is up? He's got 14 seconds to get down here. I think he is, isn't he? He's going to easily do it. So 2 laps to go then for the race leader. That's one of those moments where he will have been willing the time away, because if he'd have been 10 seconds slower, this would be the last lap, and he would know that he's just got to keep it all together. Tell you what there is at the moment, there's a little bit more spray out there than there has been before. Rain's come down a little bit heavier in the last 5 or 10 minutes. Just kicking up a little bit more spray, these DRS125 carts. Just see it coming off the back wheels there as the leader goes through buttons and heads towards top bend. This time will be the last lap. So the time is up, the 8 minutes are up. And now the leaders are on their way, or the leader is on his way towards the checkered flag. He's got half a lap to go here as he heads out of the S's. Here is the battle for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and Bilbezi's got past Snape, hasn't he, on that last lap. So Firas Bilbezi has got past Tom Snape, so Gartside is fourth. Now it's Bilbezi into fifth. It's Tom Snape, the number 4, down to 6th place, and Tommy Welsh into 7th. We will speak to a couple of the DRS125 drivers before the pre-final, give us an indication of how they see the conditions at the moment as the race leader becomes the race winner. And Oliver Owen then crosses the line with a really healthy 4-second advantage over Mark Lawrence. Jack Rigg comes through in third. Ben Gartside fourth. Bilbezi holds on just about to his 5th place at the expense of Tom Snape. Tommy Welsh in 7th. JJ McGing is about to cross the line. He's just coming round the top bend now. He will come through into 8th place, and then Carl Watt will round out this 9-driver category. And we will take the opportunity for a short break. For those of you who turn into the action for the afternoon session, you're looking to rejoin us just around about 20 past 2. That's the scheduled off time for the pre-final for DRS Group A. We look forward to seeing you then with all the rest of the action for the DRS Daniel Ricciardo Series Round 1 here at Clay Pigeon. We'll see you shortly. Our senior class, the DRS125s, are here on the dummy grid for their pre-final. Oliver Owen, who won the first heat earlier on the inside of the front row. This is we've been talking about nose cones, haven't we? We've been talking about front NASA panels, and this is the new front nose for the Daniel Ricciardo Series for 2022. If you can get, I don't know how low you can get, but if you can get under here, we won't touch, but you can just see how the almost like an inlet underneath where the wind, effectively the wind resistance is cut right through the rest of the car, really. So yeah, really interesting piece of technology. It's obviously part of the CIK homologation bodywork as well. And the other thing is, I noticed how much thinner the side pods are this year. So side pod is a lot slimmer, a lot thinner. Actually reminds me of the olden days for those who were in karting a long time ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, before we got the wider side pod as it is, or as it was then. We had side bars, and then a really light side pod, which is sort of a reflective of what that is, or what that is now. So right, let's see who we can get. I want to try and get Mark Lawrence if I can find out where he is. Oh, he's over there. So we'll just try and interrupt him for a second. He's just having a chin wide. Very social on the DRS125 grid, and people having a chat and a look at the condition check. It is still raining, still very much raining, and the drivers will have to be aware of the differences that might come. If I can just grab Mark Lawrence as he comes over. Mark, loads of pace in qualifying, not quite as much in the first heat. What was the difference?
Yeah, we'd gone down in pressure, which probably wasn't the way to go, I think.
Might be the way to go now, though, with the change in weather. It's a little bit heavier than it was before. Are you expecting it to be significantly different?
I don't know is the answer to that one. It's every session out there is different, so it's quite luck really at the end of the day.
Yeah. And all the best for the pre-final, and that's the challenge that these drivers face. That every time you go out in these wet conditions, it's different. It's put either more rain down or less rain down, or something's slightly different as it was before. I'm going to nip over here as well and speak to the first heat winner, which is Oliver Owen. We'll try and coordinate our umbrellas. Oh, he's going to get rid of his for me. That's very kind of him. You can have a bit of mine, Oliver. Opposite to Mark, I suppose, where he didn't have the quite the pace in qualifying, but did have it in the first heat. What was the difference?
There was no difference really. We had the pace in qualifying. It just, don't know, in the first race it just came on and managed to get up the inside of Mark in the first or third, fourth corner and just managed to pull away. So it was just lucky really.
How important is the start of these races? So you know, like I know, that if you can get away in the first couple of corners, if you can get some clear air, if you can put a couple of really good laps together, even just a half a lap together and break that toe on somebody, you almost break the heart, don't you? And they almost can give up chasing you because you can have won the race in the first couple of corners or first couple of laps. Is that the mindset going into this race? I just need to get out front in that first corner, put something consistent together and see how it goes.
All you can hope from pole is that you can get going and everyone behind you starts tangling up or just starts fighting, so you can get the jump on everyone, but sometimes you get tangled up and you end up being chasing. So it's just depending really and seeing what the start's like and seeing what's happening.
It's certainly the best place to be, although it's not quite as clear cut here, is it, at Clay Pigeon, with that little kink on the way into Billy's blind. And how wary of that are you in terms of the driver alongside? And if he does get that little jump over start-finish line, it could become a little bit of a drag race where you've got a disadvantage into the first right-hander.
Well, that is the thing, isn't it? Because the line for the second corner is the outside, so Mark does have the line coming around that corner, so we've just got to make sure and just see if I can get jumped in front, or if not, then tuck in behind, just see what happens.
We wish you all the best. So that's our front row. We spot to the two on the front row of the DRS125 pre-final. The two of them will go at it down towards Billy's blind in just a few minutes' time, and we'll be back with you then. Final. They'll have this to give them position, if you like, for the main final. Remember, the DRS62 and the DRS125 finals have now switched round, so the DRS62 grand final is now the 4 o'clock final, and the DRS125 final is now the 4:20 final. If you're tuning in for one of them, you know the best time to get involved with the grand finals later on this afternoon. So just to confirm, the DRS100B final will follow this final at 4:20. The DRS62 grand final 4 o'clock, and the 125 grand final 4:20. And then we finish with the DRS100s, which will be around about 4:20 this afternoon. The trophy presentation will take part at 5:15. And then attention will turn to round two. Round two in just a couple of weeks' time, where we head to Wilton Mill in 3 weeks. in the Midlands on Saturday the 21st and Sunday the 22nd of May. We'll be going there with some championship leaders, but who they are remains to be seen. At the moment, Oliver Owen will be looking to take a championship lead for sure. He is into the first corner first, although down the inside goes Lawrence. He went a little bit hot in, didn't he? Oliver Owen went a little bit hot into that first corner, and Lawrence sneaks up the inside. Not only does he do it, but Jack Rigg is also up the inside. So from first to third, just went a little bit hot, and now he goes to the inside and tries to retake some of those places. Oliver Owen, I think he's managed to get one as they come out of the right-hander. He has indeed. So Oliver Owen takes back one of the places that he lost at the start of this race. But Mark Lawrence then is the leader. Said they made a little mistake on the tyre pressures as they go into Billy's for the first time. He was very wide, wasn't he? And now he hasn't got the best line in. That might cause him a few problems as they go through the S's. Here they come then. Lawrence, just about. Tell you what, Oliver Owen, very, very good on the brakes into here last time. And he's very good at doing that. He goes to the outside, almost like he's not interested. And all of a sudden, he switches to the inside. And they're side by side as they head up towards the left-hander now. And it is Owen then that's managed to make it stick this time. And he moves up into the lead. A little bit of oversteer as he goes through the opposite lock. He goes through the right-hander at top bend and heads down the hill. Now, what does Lawrence do now? Does he know that he has to attack Oliver Owen? As we see a penalty for Tommy Welsh. So Welsh, who's in 6th place at the moment, receives a penalty for contact. Down towards the hand hairpin once more. What he's so good at, Oliver Owen, is he stays to the outside on the entry to the hand hairpin, almost if you think he's not going to do anything. At the last minute, he just points the nose in, dives to the inside, clips the apex, and he's down the inside and through to take a place. He's done it a couple of times already today. How do you manage it? You get yourself onto the apex quicker if you're on the in front of him. You make sure that you are on that apex a lot quicker than you have been to allow him to make that move down the inside. Over the rumble strips, the curbs on both sides, goes Oliver Owen, the race leader. Lawrence second. Jack Rigg is in third. Ben Gartside is fourth, and there's a contact warning for JJ McGing as well from that last lap. So 8 minutes plus a lap still to go. Remember, all of the main finals are 10 minutes plus a lap for the B finals and 12 minutes plus a lap for the 3 main finals, the 62, the 125 and the 100. There's Ben Gartside, currently in 4th place. Tom Snape behind him. Seen Tom Snape been right at the sharp end of DRS125s, haven't we? We've seen him in contention to win races. Quite there at the moment, not quite had the weekend or the pace that he would have hoped for sure. So the leader once more. Gap between first and second, just around about 0.8 of a second. In fact, Mark Lawrence just done his personal best, 43.223, which is 0.2 slower than Oliver Owen's personal best, which is also the fastest lap of the race, but it's a couple of hundreds quicker than Oliver Owen was on the last lap of the race. So he has brought the gap down ever so slightly. He's going to need to do it more than ever so slightly if he wants to get on terms with the man at the front of this field. He relinquished the lead for just about a lap, didn't he, at the start, went a little bit heavy into turn 1, into Billy's blind, trying to keep everyone at bay. But he managed to get past both Jack Rigg and Mark Lawrence in the same way, on the same corner, just a lap apart from each other. And once he's gone out front, he's certainly made it stick. They haven't been able to get on terms with him just yet. Haven't been able to reel him in, and the advantage again was up. And the delta was up by a second last time. It was a poor lap for Mark Lawrence. It was a good lap for Oliver Owen. There's no danger of Mark Lawrence falling into the clutches of Jack Rigg, do we think? The gap between them two is it's 1.6 seconds, so probably not. The gap behind as well, Ben Gartside and Tom Snape. That gap's extended as well over the last few laps. So they are in a fairly spread out order at the moment, the top 6 or 7. In fact, everybody out there has got a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of space to work in. The fastest lap of the race is still a 42.856 from Oliver Owen. Anybody else been in the 42s? No, the next fastest has been Mark Lawrence, 43.3. So looking towards the grand final then, if things stay as they are, the chasing pack are looking at a half a second swing. Mark Lawrence is looking at a half a second swing if he wants to get on terms with Oliver Owen. Jack Rigg, if he needs to get another couple of attempts from Mark Lawrence first before he can start to tackle the deficit in time back to the race leader. 43.1 for him last time round. Just consistently a tenth or two quicker than everybody else, Oliver Owen. Doing a good job. Carl Watt is up to 6th. Phillips Bilbezi is 7th. And JJ McGing and Tommy Welsh are 8th and 9th. No real change there in the last few laps. With just about a minute to go here. Before we conclude all of the pre-finals, and then we are heading towards the business end of the day. We've got a B final and then 3 grand finals to go here at round number 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series at Clay Pigeon. Here's a replay of Tommy Welsh, I think. Just having a spin down at the right-hander of the hand corner. Hand hairpin. That's been the hardest place for the drivers, hasn't it? We've seen most of the, whenever we've seen unforced errors, have been down in that area of the circuit. It is off camber down there. The other thing that you've got to consider, it's the same at a couple of circuits in the UK. There's a lot of trees around there as well, and you tend to get, when it rains, you get a little bit of the sap and the chemicals off the trees, a little bit of the debris sometimes as well. It can make it really slippery in those kind of corners. There's a similar one at Rowra where you go under the cliff face effectively at the top end of the circuit. It becomes all kinds of greasy and slippery at certain times of the year. But that is the place that's caught the most of them out. We're into the final lap then for our race leader. He's through 12 laps. And this is the man to catch for the DRS125s at the moment. The number 5 of Oliver Owen. He's already down to that little treacherous area we've just talked about. You can see some of the trees overhanging. But he's through there pretty harmlessly. And up towards the left of the horseshoe. Here's Button's corner, the right-hander, and then all he's got to do is deal with this long right-hander at top bend, which is where he is now, and he'll drop down the hill, and fairly straightforwardly, he will win the pre-final for the DRS125. Second place will be Mark Lawrence. Good drive from him. Third will be Jack Rigg. Ben Gartside has just crossed the line in 4th, with Tom Snape 5th, Ferris Bilbezi, 6th, ahead of Carl Watt on that last lap, the DRS plate driver. Carl Watt came home in 2nd, and then JJ McGinn will come home in 8th, and Tommy Walsh will complete our race in 9th place. And that is our pre-finals complete. So, as we say, we turn our attention to a B final, which is scheduled off in around about 9 minutes. And then we'll be on for our 3 grand finals from 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be back in a few moments' time. So, grand final for DRS125s. It's a shame we can't get down and see them, but we wouldn't get back in time. We will try. There's a couple of DRS100s I'm very keen to speak to, so I'll try and get down there after the DRS125 grand final is complete. 12 minutes plus a lap for this next race. We've 2 to go, ladies and gents, and it's gone ever so quickly, hasn't it, here at round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series at Clay Pigeon. So second to last, the DRS125. 12 minutes plus a lap. And what can anybody do about Oliver Owen? Wasn't the fastest this morning in the qualifying, but he won the first heat and the pre-final pretty much at a canter. Can he make it a clean sweep of competitive races by winning the grand final here this weekend? Setting himself up very nicely for an early championship lead if he can. So the on circuit, bang on the time. The timekeeping amazes me. They're so good at it, the staff, Jane and the team here. Absolutely bang on the time. We've had all these races. We've had a perfectly timed lunch break. And we are still absolutely on schedule here. If you're joining us on YouTube or on Facebook, feel free to comment, to offer your comments of support for different drivers. Tell us what you made of that last lap. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, tell us what you thought. What did you think of that final lap? What would you have done if you're a young racing driver or an old racing driver? What would you have done in that situation? Try and make it as interactive as we possibly can here at the Daniel Ricciardo Series. And you can do that through the mediums of Facebook on our Daniel Ricciardo Series page or on YouTube on the Daniel Ricciardo Series channel. So the DRS125s then. It's a great shot of the new nose cone as well, isn't it, with those two coming round. So last time out in the pre-final, Mark Lawrence managed to get the drop. It's a little bit harum-scarum into the first corner. Oliver Owen almost outbraked himself. They're pretty quick. That's not going to go, surely. Has it gone? No, I didn't think it would. They were very, very quick as they came round, all trying to get the drop into the first corner first. And they will go around and try and do it again. It's just a little bit heavier. Yeah, some interesting views on social media. If both the leaders in the last race undertook under yellow against the back marker, should they both face penalty? It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, my views, opinions, nothing official from me, of course. I'll leave that sort of behaviour to the officials as the DRS125 race gets underway, and Oliver Owen has done what he didn't manage to do in the pre-final. He's managed to scamper away in and out of the first couple of corners first. Now, it's very, very premature to say this, but he might have just won the race by doing that, because we know he's got the pace, we know he's quick enough, we know that Mark Lawrence and the drivers in behind haven't quite shown enough pace to stay on turns with him, so did they have to pin him back and pin him in the first couple of corners? They haven't managed to do it. He's a little bit sideways, the race leader, as he comes round to complete his first lap, Oliver Owen. But he's already got a gap of some 0.7 of a second over Mark Lawrence, who's going to desperately try and just hold on to his coattails for as long as he possibly can. If he can put a couple of good laps in, if he can rely on a mistake potentially from Oliver Owen, could find himself with an opportunity. And that might just be all he can hope for at the moment. Ben Gartside is third. Good start for him to get ahead of Jack Rigg. They're both ahead of Firas Bilbezi. JJ McGing's made a good start up into sixth, and Carl Watt is in seventh. Tom Snape, certainly not had the day that he would have wanted. Tom Snape is at the back of the field. He's shown to be a winner in these sorts of races. But he's having a pretty shocking weekend so far here at Clay Pigeon. Not the championship start he would have wanted. Over come the leaders, then down towards the Han hairpin. A bit of a wider line from most of the drivers. Gartside dives back up. Oh, sorry, Bilbezi dives back up the inside of Jack Rigg and back into fourth place. He's had a good start to the year, hasn't he? Firas Bilbezi won the DRS plate. And now he's got himself into fourth, and he'll be looking at a podium here. He'll be looking at finding a way past Ben Gartside, Firas Bilbezi, and Rigg and McGing. And Watt is seventh, and Tommy Welsh and Tom Snape. So, last time round then, the gap between Owen and Lawrence was about the same, just around a second. What have they done in the first sector? Oh, Lawrence has taken a 10th in the first sector. Can he follow that up with something a little bit better as Bilbezi goes past Gartside? Just keep an eye on Firas Bilbezi. What did he do last time round? 43.4. He's not got the pace of the front two, but some pace nonetheless. And either way, it's been a really good start to the season for Mark Lawrence. I'm sure if somebody had said to him, you can have a handful of second places and a load of championship points, I'm sure he would have been happy with that. But I'm sure the racing driver in him will still fancy a look at Oliver Owen here. The gap's now, it's down to 10th. Mark Lawrence has got just around a 10th on him, a 43.1 last time round. 42.8's the fastest lap of the race from Oliver Owen, but he hasn't managed to do that for a couple of laps. Although he has just done the fastest first sector and the fastest second sector. Oh, this is going to be pretty special from Oliver Owen this lap time. Here he comes. Yep, 42.7, fastest lap of the race. He's just taken 3/10 out. That will break the heart of Mark Lawrence, I can tell you. Because Mark Lawrence would have thought he was getting there. Would have thought he was just inching closer and closer and closer, where he could get to the point where he could apply some pressure. And all of a sudden, bang, Oliver Owen puts in an unbelievable lap, 42.7. Takes 3/10 off him and says, all that hard work you've done, Mark, it's for nothing, because I've just extended my advantage at the front. And that's exactly how it has transpired, and it's made life a lot more comfortable for Oliver Owen at the front of this field. 1.5 seconds the gap now between first and second as they head through the S's for one more lap. Remember, it's 12 minutes plus a lap, these grand finals. Just not even at halfway just yet. It's a long way to go. Don't rule anything out just yet. They're probably going to do about 15 laps, I'd have thought, all in for this final. And then, of course, we have the DRS 100 still to come. Have we saved the best till last? Based on last year's action, probably. Certainly expecting a very close race as the A and the B group for the DRS 100s come together for the first time. All of the main players will be in amongst it. I'm sure they're going to give us an absolute cracker to finish our day's racing. An excellent day's racing here at the Daniel Ricciardo Series. What a way to kick off the season. We've had everything but the weather, really. Here is the race leader. What's the gap now? It was 1.7 seconds last time round. And Lawrence just not able to consistently put in the sort of times he needs to stay in touch, never mind get on terms with the leader. .42.7 last lap, so Oliver Owen actually just driving away at the front of this field. What a good drive from Firas Bilbesi as well. Not really shown huge amounts of pace earlier today. Hovered around sort of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Ben Gartside gets a warning from the officials in 5th place. He's been involved in a battle with Jack Rigg and JJ McGing. But Bilbesi's just sort of been a slow burner, hasn't he? Just started to get himself back into contention, just started to increase and improve his pace. Is he lapping any quicker than Mark Lawrence at the moment? No, not really. Just wondered if there might be a bit of a last gas push for 3rd between those two. Doesn't look to be that way. So Owen, Lawrence, Bilbesi, top 3. Good distance between all 3. So unless something really unexpected happens or we get a technical problem for one of those front 3, they're looking fairly comfortable. 3.5 seconds between Owen and Lawrence. A further 3 seconds or so, 2.5 seconds back to Bilbesi, although Bilbesi's taken 0.3 of a second out of Mark Lawrence on that last lap. You can just get the bit between his teeth here. Still got 4 minutes to go. He's still got an awful long way to go in this DRS125 Grand Final. Jack Rigg is 4th, Ben Gartside is 5th. JJ McGing's showing really well, isn't he, in this main final. Again, a couple of places higher than he had been in some of the earlier races. He's taking a little bit of time out of Ben Gartside as well at the moment. He's lapping around about 43.6. Gartside 43.9 last time round. What's distance between them two? So let's have a quick look. Where's the 183 of Gartside? He's going right there, isn't he? Right there is JJ McGing. Just keep an eye on him in the closing stages. 2.98 of Carl Watt is also right up there. In fact, McGing is past Gartside. I wonder if Ben Gartside's got a bit of a problem. He was quick at the start of the race. He's just started to struggle a little bit. He's getting picked off by pretty much everybody behind him at the moment. JJ McGing's up to 5th. What a good showing from that young man. And what did Bilbesi take out of Lawrence? So we're going to see a little bit of a grandstand finish between 2nd and 3rd. What have we got left? 3 minutes? 5 laps maybe? What's the gap? The gap is it's 2.4 seconds. He's going to need to take half a second a lap out of Mark Lawrence if he's going to get there. He's taking about 2/10 at the moment. It won't be enough. He's going to need a bit more. What did he take last time? A 10th. Won't be enough. Firas, you'll need to find a little bit more if you're going to get on terms with Mark Lawrence. Now, what sort of pace is Jack Rigg doing in 4th place? A 43.5. Yeah, not. He's quicker than JJ McGing, but only by a couple of tenths. And JJ McGing's actually lost a 10th of a second back to Ben Gartside. What's happened here? So what's happened with JJ McGing there? So he's raising his arm and he's very unhappy. Has there been contact with him? He's got a little kink in the back bumper as well. Here we go. So McGing and Gartside, I think. Ooh, yeah, that's naughty. Not sure Ben Gartside will get away with that. certainly wasn't all the way alongside. He's made contact with around the engine area. Oh, there you go. Just as I was saying it. Ben Gartside, advantage by contact. I don't think you've got any real arguments, Ben, if I'm perfectly honest. Trying to manufacture a hole that wasn't there. And JJ McGinn can be rightfully disappointed. He was having a really good drive, up into 5th, now drops down to 7th. He's probably likely to get a place back, I'd have thought, up to 6th, because I'm sure that penalty for Ben Gartside will be something along those lines. Advantage is to Carl Watts, because Carl Watts up a couple of places and into 5th place. So super stuff from Carl Watt. And good to see some of these drivers who've been very patient in the DRS125 class, worked hard to increase their pace and improve. How long have we got left? Just have a look at Firas Bilbezi, because he's taken 4/10 on the last lap, and he is now in, well, he's not in touching distance. So what's he got left? So it'll be 2 laps. He's going to need to take about 6-7 tenths of a second out, and probably rely on a mistake from Mark Lawrence. But we've seen this before. Just keep an eye on these two, 2nd and 3rd. 7th, Mark Lawrence, the DRS plate of Firas Bilbezi. Leaders under no pressure at all. Oliver Owens way ahead here, no problem at all. This is the battle. Can he close the gap? Firas Bilbezi. Mark Lawrence, because Mark Lawrence knows he's coming. Has he got anything in reserve? Can he fend off? He's taken more time, hasn't he? He's definitely taken more time. I'm just not sure he's going to get there. What's the gap now? The gap is, he only took 2/10. He needed about 5. The gap's 8/10 of a second. I don't think he'll get there, but what a good effort from Firas Bilbezi. He's just going to run out of time. Just going to run out of laps in the end. If he had another 2 or 3 laps here, I think he'd probably get there with Mark Lawrence. He's very, very late on the brakes. Very late on the brakes into the left-hander. He'll lose a little bit on exit speed there. That won't help him. And then he goes to the inside, very late on the brakes again. He's probably trying to scare Mark Lawrence and just trying to get him in his eyesight. He's not going to manage to do it. Here is the winner. And the winner is the number 5 of Oliver Owen. Owen then wins at a canter. Stellar performance from him. 2nd place. And I'm sure Mark Lawrence will be delighted with his weekend's work. Firas Bilbezi, a very spirited 3rd indeed. And then Jack Rigg and Carl Watt come home in the top 5. We're going to nip down to the grid and speak to some DRS 100 drivers. And welcome back, everyone, to the trophy presentation for round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series here at Clay Pigeon. We will kick right off with the DRS 100B final, that opportunity for the drivers who didn't quite make it through to the A final, but what we did see was a super drive from the winner, a gap of over 22 seconds in the end from our B final winner, number 160, Freddie Farrell. And the DRS 62s then, so split this year to incorporate the Academy top 3 as well, those drivers undertaking their first season in the Daniel Ricciardo Series. So 3rd place of the Academy drivers, a 12th place finish overall for Jenson Woodhouse. In 2nd place, 11th overall, 2nd of the Academy drivers, number 64, Cruz Dalton. Saying that they can't hear And today's Academy winner, 6th place overall. A fantastic drive from the DRA plate, Bailey Wolf. Ladies and gentlemen, your DRS Academy top 3.
He's saying it's off because of the feedback, it's down because of the feedback.
Yeah.
On to our DRS Supers then. In 3rd place, number 5, Nat Johnston. And a battle that we hadn't really seen all day until it came down to the last couple of laps. And it could have swung either way with a couple of hairy moments, including some back markers as well. But 2nd place today, our number 4 of Ewan Scott. And our Super DRS 62 winner at round 1 here at Clay Pigeon, number 3, Oscar Walsh. Put your hands together for the DRS 62 Super top 3.
Boys, thank you.
On to our juniors then, the DRS 100s, and we start with our top rookies. Some really excellent performances from the rookie drivers, in particular this driver who was excellent in the heat and the pre-final and managed to get on top of all the other rookies in terms of placings in the main final as well. Our rookie of the day is number 162, Cassidy Southall. Well done, Cassidy. And the DRS 100 top 3, another excellent race from our DRS 100s. In 3rd place, the number 128 of Oscar Walmsley Jones. In 2nd place, the number 154 of Tristan Powell. And once he got out front, he was the dominant driver of the DRS 100s. It's an initial championship lead and a first win of the season for Maximilian Salarski. Our DRS 100 top 3, ladies and gents.
What else are missing there? The same as 2nd, Mark Lawrence. What else are missing?
We've got rookie, DRS 125 top rookie.
There isn't one, is there?
There's another one. No, there's not. No.
Okay.
So on to our DRS 125s to close the show. In 3rd place, came on really strongly at the end as well, the DRS play of Firas Bilbezi. In 2nd place, also taking home our Masters Award as well for the day, number 7, Mark Lawrence. And today's winner, another dominant performance, gap of over 6 seconds to everybody else. Our winner today for the DRS125s, number 5, Oliver Owen. Our DRS125 drivers, our top 3, everybody. And that's it from us today here at Clay Pigeon, where we've completed round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series. In just 3 weeks' time, we'll be heading north and a little bit east to Wilton Mill for round 2. We'll see you then. He goes, there's a little bit of contact between the two of them. Oh, there's contact, and there's contact between Cheryl Paul and Campbell Pilling.